Try me, loser. Donald Trump sneers across the crowded room, his voice dripping with contempt, as if the entire world belongs to him. But Jasmine Crockett doesn't flinch, not 1 inch. She's staring back, eyes burning with the kind of fury that has toppled empires. Tonight, under these harsh lights, with 87 witnesses, 1,946 pages of evidence, and the eyes of 330 million Americans watching, every lie, every deception, every secret is about to collide. The air is thick. The tension is unbearable. Trump thinks he's untouchable, but Jasmine Crockett is about to prove him dangerously wrong. No one in this room knows what's coming next, and for the next 40 seconds, you won't be able to look away. The gavel strikes once, sharp and commanding, echoing across the cavernous room. Harsh lights glare down, reflecting off the polished wood and the shiny lenses of countless cameras, each capturing a moment that could make or break history. The air is thick with anticipation, so dense it almost feels physical. You could hear a pin drop, except for the murmurs of reporters and the rustle of papers, each shuffle carrying the weight of expectation. Then he enters. Donald Trump, every inch the self-assured titan, steps into the room with a swagger that seems to challenge gravity itself. His smile is sharp, predatory, a silent warning that he believes nothing. Not the law, not the witnesses, not even the truth can touch him. His eyes scan the room, landing deliberately on Jasmine Crockett. For a heartbeat, the room holds its breath as the collision of two worlds seems inevitable. Jasmine stands her ground, poised and unwavering, her back straight as steel, her eyes locked onto the man who has caused chaos, injustice, and fear for far too long. There is no hesitation, no flinch, no sign that she's daunted by the fame, fortune, or fury of the man before her. Every muscle in her body screams readiness, every breath measured, every inch of her presence radiating authority, morality, and the quiet threat of reckoning. Trump's voice cuts through the tension, sharp as a whip, slicing across the room with practiced disdain. Who gave you the right to stand here and judge me? The question is not rhetorical. It's a weapon aimed to destabilize, humiliate, and provoke. Cameras zoom in on Jasmine's face, capturing the flicker of thought, the quick assessment, the instant mental armor she wraps around herself. Her reply is ice and fire combined. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to do my duty, to uphold justice, and nothing more. The words hang in the air, potent and deliberate. A charged silence follows. For a moment, no one breathes. The staff, the witnesses, even the journalists, all are frozen in the raw gravity of the exchange. You can feel the ripple, like a stone dropped in a still pond, expanding outward in waves of tension that reach every corner of the chamber. It's not just a verbal clash, it's a battle of wills. Every glance, every word, every slight gesture is loaded with meaning. Trump leans slightly forward, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth, trying to reclaim control, to tilt the invisible scale in his favor. Jasmine meets him squarely, her expression unyielding, a subtle tightening of her jaw betraying nothing but iron resolve. The reporters scribble furiously, snapping photographs that will later dominate headlines. The room is alive with suppressed energy, a quiet storm threatening to erupt at any second. And then, with the finality of a verdict yet to be delivered, the first salvo has been fired. A battle has begun, not with fists, but with words sharp enough to wound, with truth and lies locked in deadly embrace. Every eye in the room is drawn to Jasmine Crockett. Every heartbeat synchronizes with hers, a rhythm of courage that refuses to yield. And in that silence between words, the promise of a war for justice lingers, electric and unavoidable. Amidst the tension, there's a subtle whisper across the chamber, almost unnoticed. The viewers at home will feel the weight of every moment, every pause, every accusation. This isn't just a hearing, it's a spectacle, a test of character and conviction. And the first move has already set the stage for what is to come. And if you want to witness every second of this battle, the confrontations, the secrets, the truths finally exposed, make sure you're part of the journey. Hit subscribe to Harrison Stories, Because what happens here tonight is the story history will remember. The gavel has barely settled when Trump leans forward, a grin curling like a snake ready to strike. He interrupts almost immediately, cutting across Jasmine's poised words with practiced precision, his voice a weapon honed over decades. The room erupts into flashes and clicks as photographers react instinctively, capturing the tension as if the lenses themselves could freeze the storm before it fully forms. You call yourself a protector of justice, Trump sneers, his tone dripping with disdain. But who really put you in charge? Who gave you the right to decide what's true? The question hangs in the room like smoke from a sudden fire. Reporters scribble feverishly, cameras swivel, and murmurs ripple through the crowd. Trump is relentless, a conductor of chaos, orchestrating a spectacle designed to fracture perception and sow doubt. He leans into every pause, exploiting the silence, forcing every eye to flick between him and Jasmine, measuring reactions, exploiting the tiniest flinch or hesitation. Then come the accusations, sharp, biting, and designed to wound. "We've seen your record, Crockett," he spits out, each syllable clipped, as though he's carving into the air itself. "People are talking, whispers everywhere. Are you really capable of handling what's coming? Or is this just a performance for the cameras?" The room reacts. Gasps ripple through the crowd. A few skeptical glances are exchanged, and in that moment, the subtle currents of doubt begin to creep into the edges of perception. Trump has planted seeds, questions, insinuations, shadows of mistrust, and he watches them take root with a predator's patience. But Jasmine Crockett doesn't blink. Her gaze is steady, unyielding, an unspoken promise that the storm will not bend her. She opens her mouth, her voice calm, measured, yet carrying the weight of authority that can cut through the din. "Your distractions, your theatrics, and your empty threats cannot obscure the truth. I stand on facts, evidence, and integrity, something you clearly misunderstand." A hush falls just enough to hear the subtle intake of breath from the audience, the shift in posture from staff, the almost imperceptible tightening of Trump's jaw. The clash is not just verbal, it is elemental. Ice against fire, poise against arrogance, truth against manipulation. Trump grows visibly restless, tapping a finger against the table, his grin faltering into a tight-lipped scowl. "Cute words," he snaps, "but words don't hold weight when the people are watching. People talk, Crockett. People see through masks. Can you handle the heat when everything you claim comes under scrutiny?" Jasmine tilts her head slightly, a faint smile of ironic patience crossing her lips. She doesn't rise to the bait, doesn't yell, doesn't flinch. Instead, every syllable is deliberate, precise, and deadly in its clarity. "I handle scrutiny every day. I welcome it. Because unlike you, I do not hide behind distractions or intimidation. The people will see the truth, no matter how loudly you scream." The room seems to pulse with the collision of two forces, Trump's raw, unfiltered ego against Jasmine's disciplined, unshakable resolve. The tension coils tighter and tighter, each exchange snapping like a taut wire. Reporters capture every gesture, every glance, every almost imperceptible twitch, knowing that the images alone could define the narrative long before words are printed. As the minutes stretch, the debate grows sharper. Trump's interruptions become more frantic, more biting, his voice rising and falling like a storm at sea, trying to unmoor Jasmine's composure. But she stands unshaken, countering each attack with the calm precision of a master strategist. Each rebuttal is a carefully measured blow, dismantling insinuations, turning every accusation into evidence of Trump's own recklessness. By now, the room is on edge, taut as a wire about to snap. The witnesses lean forward, pens hovering. The camera crews jostle for position. Even the security staff stiffens in anticipation of the inevitable eruption. The clash is not just about words. It is about perception, control, and the silent war of influence playing out in every flicker of eye contact and every calculated pause. Trump's grin has faded. He is no longer the predator entirely in control. There is frustration creeping into his cadence, a subtle but undeniable shift in energy. Jasmine's measured, icy precision has started to undermine him, showing the first cracks in the armor he wears so confidently. And just as the first salvo of chaos seems spent, the air hums with the promise of more. More revelations, more tension, more unrelenting confrontation. This is only the beginning. The chair of the committee slams the gavel, drawing immediate silence. "Let us focus on the matter at hand," the voice booms, cutting through the residual tension. "The allegations of corruption and abuse of power must be addressed directly and without distraction." A shiver runs through the room as all eyes pivot to Jasmine Crockett. With a calm breath, she opens the thick leather binder that seems almost too heavy for the table itself. Page after page of meticulously gathered evidence, contracts, emails, bank statements, internal memos, spill across her desk. Each sheet carries the weight of proof, the weight of truth, the weight of consequences. Trump leans back, lips curling in that signature half-smile, eyes narrowing. "Documents? Numbers? You think a stack of paper can touch me?" He scoffs, dismissing the significance with a wave of his hand. Cameras flash, capturing every dismissive gesture, every tiny twitch of his confidence. Jasmine's response is precise, surgical even. "This is not paper, Mr. Trump. These are facts. Facts that tie actions directly to consequences. Actions that affect real people, real communities, and real justice." Her voice is steady, unshakable, slicing through the room's tension like a blade. She picks up a chart detailing financial discrepancies, a trail of millions moving across accounts, each transfer meticulously annotated, each number a fingerprint of intent. "This," she says, pointing to a figure exceeding $47 million, "is not conjecture. This is the path of misuse, misdirection, and manipulation." Trump's face flushes. He opens his mouth to retort, but the room is a living organism now, every attendee leaning in, absorbing the gravity of what is being revealed. "Preposterous," he finally bursts, voice rising, the first real crack in his composure. "This is selective, fabricated, completely misleading." Yet Jasmine does not waver. She moves on, presenting an internal email chain that reveals deliberate attempts to circumvent oversight, to manipulate regulatory frameworks, and to obscure accountability. Each sentence she reads aloud lands like a hammer striking steel. The room listens, rapt and breathless. A murmur spreads through the spectators as the figures mount. $12 million in unreported donations, 23 key witnesses whose statements contradict public claims, 8 separate instances of documented interference in official processes. The numbers are stark, undeniable, and they float in the room like cold, hard proof. The committee chair's gaze sharpens. "Mr. Trump," a voice cuts through the tension, "how do you respond to these documented instances? Are these allegations accurate, or do you deny the entire body of evidence?" Trump falters. For the first time in this chamber, the air of invincibility cracks. His fingers drum nervously against the polished table. The reporters' pens move faster. Cameras zoom in closer. The room vibrates with anticipation. For every denial Trump utters, Jasmine counters, citing documents, dates, and statements with the precision of a surgeon. "You cannot hide behind theatrics any longer," Jasmine says, voice rising, fierce yet controlled. "The evidence is clear. Every transaction, every instruction, every attempt to subvert accountability is on the record. And the people watching, every one of them will see it too." Trump's attempts to redirect the narrative falter. The question from the committee, precise and unyielding, lands like a final blow. "Mr. Trump, can you explain these 8 documented instances of interference in the official process, or will you continue to deny what the evidence plainly shows?" The room erupts, quietly, tensely, with the collective gasps, scribbles, and shutter clicks of journalists capturing history in motion. Trump's confident mask slips, his smile falters, the room's energy pressing against him, unrelenting, undeniable. Jasmine remains a pillar of poise, her presence unshaken. Every rebuttal, every factual correction, every pointed glance is a calculated strike, slowly dismantling the carefully constructed illusion of control that Trump has wielded for years. The chamber seems alive with electricity. Each revelation, each number, each statement resonates with the weight of consequences. The conflict is no longer abstract. It is tangible, immediate, and explosive. Every witness leans forward. Every reporter waits with bated breath. Every citizen watching knows that a reckoning is unfolding in real time. By the end of this section, Trump is visibly rattled, scrambling for words as the evidence bears down on him like a relentless tide. The first cracks have turned into fissures, and Jasmine Crockett stands unyielding, the embodiment of determination, the living proof that scrutiny, preparation, and truth can pierce even the most formidable defenses. The room is electric. The stakes have never been higher. And for the millions watching at home, this is the moment when reality collides with deception, and the fight for justice truly begins. Trump leans forward, a predatory gleam in his eyes. "That witness is mistaken," he declares, his tone sharp, slicing through the chamber like a blade. "They're lying. The facts are skewed. Do not be fooled by their accounts." His words carry the weight of authority, yet beneath the polished veneer, there is something more insidious, a deliberate attempt to twist perception, to plant doubt, to unsettle everyone in the room. Cameras whirl, reporters scribble, and the murmurs ripple outward. But Trump doesn't stop there. A subtle signal, barely perceptible, passes across the table to his aides. In a flurry of quiet movement, papers change hands. Documents are replaced, annotations altered, and carefully curated misinformation begins to circulate under the guise of credibility. Every whisper, every shuffled sheet, designed to manipulate reality itself. Jasmine Crockett notices immediately. Her eyes flicker across the table, catching the fleeting motion of a hand passing a doctored memo. She senses the trap instantly, the subtle attempt to disorient, to mislead, to make her overreact. But she does not rise to the bait. Instead, she tilts her head slightly, maintains a calm exhale, and allows the room to absorb the tension without tipping her hand. "Every attempt to distort the truth will be exposed," Jasmine says, her voice a low, steady hum of control, barely above the din of the chamber. Deception cannot hide from scrutiny, and those who manipulate evidence will ultimately answer for it. Her words, measured yet deadly, hang in the air like a warning. Trump smirks, sensing he still holds the upper hand. He leans back, radiating confidence, radiating the sense that he believes the game is entirely under his control. "Do you see?" he says, gesturing broadly to the audience and the press. "Even the evidence can be confusing. Even the witnesses. Who knows who to trust?" The subtle art of manipulation unfolds before the eyes of the public. Every gesture, every carefully placed doubt, every whispered insinuation is designed to destabilize Jasmine's footing without her making a misstep. The room is tense, almost taut with the invisible threads of deceit he's weaving. Yet Jasmine moves with the precision of a master strategist. She does not confront the altered documents directly in public. Not yet. She observes, catalogs, and stores every detail in her mind, preparing to strike at the opportune moment. Her calm presence contrasts sharply with the chaos swirling around her. Every flicker of a lie, every deceitful smile from Trump is noted, remembered, and folded into the larger narrative she is meticulously building. Trump senses no resistance. He believes the room is on his side, that the audience has been mesmerized by the smoke and mirrors, that the witness intimidation, the subtle document manipulations, and his overwhelming confidence have tilted the scales in his favor. "This is how it's done," he mutters under his breath, almost to himself. "Control the narrative. Control the outcome." The audience, however, feels the tension. Some lean forward, some exchange nervous glances, and reporters sense that the veneer of authority is beginning to crack. Trump's confidence is tangible, but so is the undertone of desperation, the faint tremor beneath the bravado that only someone accustomed to being untouchable could betray under pressure. Jasmine waits, poised like a coiled spring, allowing him to expose the extent of his arrogance. She doesn't need to rush. Every lie he tells, every document he tries to manipulate, is fuel for the fire she is building. The audience feels the suspense, their hearts sinking to the rhythm of the confrontation. Then in a subtle, almost imperceptible shift, Jasmine speaks again. "Facts are not optional," she says firmly, her eyes locking onto Trump's with unwavering clarity. "Truth does not bend to intimidation, Nor does justice fear performance. Every attempt to deceive will be revealed in time. The words hit like a silent bomb. Trump, still outwardly confident, gestures dismissively, yet the tension in his jaw, the narrowing of his eyes betray the realization that he has underestimated the woman across the table. For the first time, the control he assumed he had is questioned, not by the committee, not by the witnesses, but by Jasmine Crockett herself. The room is now thick with anticipation. Every movement, every glance, every whispered word carries significance. The first layer of manipulation has been played, the trap has been set, but the real confrontation, where deceit meets unyielding truth, is about to erupt. And through it all, Jasmine Crockett remains composed, the calm at the center of the storm, ready to turn the tables when the moment arrives. For those following every second, every flash of the cameras, every subtle maneuver, this is a masterclass in strategy, courage, and the delicate art of navigating deception. And if you want to witness every move, every revelation, every calculated counter, make sure to subscribe to Harrison Stories, because the battle for truth is only intensifying, and you don't want to miss a single moment. Jasmine Crockett leans forward, her eyes sharp, her presence commanding. The air in the chamber tightens, every heartbeat echoing the anticipation. She begins to dismantle Trump's narrative piece by piece, exploiting the cracks in his carefully constructed arguments. Every word, every pause, every glance is calculated, precise, like a master strategist laying traps with invisible threads. "Mr. Trump," she begins, her voice steady yet charged with authority, "your claims of innocence are contradicted by documented evidence. Let's examine the contracts signed under your direction. These dates, these figures, these communications, they leave no room for conjecture or denial." She presents a detailed timeline, linking decisions to financial transactions, emails to public statements, and policies to personal gains. Each slide, each document, each point is laid bare, undeniable. The logic is airtight, meticulous, and merciless in its clarity. Cameras flash, capturing every detail, every pause, every flicker of Trump's reaction. Trump's confident mask begins to falter. His usual smirk tightens, his gestures become abrupt, his voice rising in sharp bursts as he attempts to interject, to redirect, to reclaim some semblance of control. "This is selective," he shouts, the room's energy shifting as tension spikes. "This is twisted. You're manipulating the facts." But Jasmine does not waver. She counters each interjection with cold precision, presenting corroborating statements from witnesses, internal memos, and recorded communications. Her voice is calm, deliberate, yet every sentence lands like a hammer striking steel. "Selective?" she echoes, her eyes locking onto his. "No, Mr. Trump, this is the truth. Every number, every date, every document has been verified. The facts do not bend to your theatrics." The chamber holds its collective breath. Senators exchange glances, staff lean forward, and reporters scribble furiously, capturing a moment that feels historic. Every word Jasmine utters chips away at the illusion of control Trump once wielded effortlessly. Trump's frustration becomes palpable. Fingers drum against the table, his posture stiffens, and beads of sweat glisten on his forehead under the harsh lights. He tries to interrupt again, but Jasmine anticipates, preempting his arguments, cutting him off not with volume, but with irrefutable logic. Every rebuttal she delivers strengthens her position, systematically undermining his defenses. Then comes the pivotal moment. Jasmine reveals a series of communications that directly tie Trump to actions he had publicly denied. Emails, signed authorizations, recorded directives. The room collectively leans in, the weight of the evidence pressing down undeniable. A subtle gasp moves through the chamber, almost imperceptible at first, then swelling as comprehension dawns. Trump's face betrays a flicker of panic, a rare, fleeting moment where confidence crumbles into the shadow of exposure. He opens his mouth, searching for words that might salvage control, but the room no longer bends to his performance. The audience, both present and at home, senses the shift. The balance of power is tipping. Jasmine's voice rises slightly, not in anger, but in the inevitability of justice. Every claim, every attempt to obscure accountability is contradicted by the evidence before us. The public, the witnesses, and this committee have a right to clarity, and the facts provide nothing less than the truth. A ripple of realization courses through the room. Journalists whisper, witnesses nod, and even some of Trump's aides exchange uneasy glances. The magnitude of what is unfolding becomes undeniable. Trump, once towering with assured dominance, is now visibly on the defensive, each denial sounding weaker against the weight of meticulous, verified evidence. The chamber reacts. Pens stop mid-scribble, cameras focus with renewed intensity, and the senators lean closer, sensing that the confrontation has reached a decisive pivot. For the first time, Trump's aura of invincibility is pierced. Jasmine sits back briefly, her expression unwavering, allowing the room to absorb the impact of her presentation. She has not shouted, she has not raged, but with intelligence, strategy, and unwavering resolve, she has turned the tide. The courtroom feels alive, every onlooker acutely aware that they are witnessing a monumental shift in momentum, a moment when courage, clarity, and evidence have wrested control from arrogance and deception. The energy in the chamber swells. Applause is restrained, whispers hum like electricity, and for the millions watching at home, the realization is stark. Trump, who seemed untouchable, is now reacting under pressure. Jasmine Crockett has not just countered, she has gained the upper hand. And as the tension lingers, almost tangible, there is only one thought echoing through every mind. The battle for justice is far from over. But tonight, the first decisive strike has been made, and it has turned the game completely. Now Trump and Jasmine stand directly opposite each other, the space between them charged like a live wire. Their eyes lock, sharp and unyielding, a silent contest of wills. Every observer feels the intensity radiating across the room, an unspoken promise that neither side will concede an inch. It is intellect against raw power, strategy against intimidation, calm against fury. Trump speaks first, his voice louder, more forceful, attempting to dominate the chamber with sheer presence. "You think evidence alone can destroy me?" he demands, gesturing to the assembled papers, the witnesses, the cameras. "I built this empire. I wield influence beyond what you can comprehend. And yet, you presume to accuse me?" Jasmine's gaze does not waver. Her voice is measured yet sharp, slicing through the weight of the room like a scalpel. "Influence does not equate to immunity," she responds. "Power does not absolve one from accountability. Facts, evidence, and law do not bend to arrogance. They expose it." The exchange escalates. Words become weapons. Each sentence from Trump carries the force of provocation, each claim designed to destabilize, intimidate, and distract. He paces slightly, leaning over the desk, raising his tone, trying to unsettle her. But Jasmine counters with calm precision, her rebuttals dissecting every attempt at manipulation with surgical clarity. "You manipulate, you deceive, you twist the narrative," she continues, her voice unwavering. "But facts are relentless. Evidence speaks louder than theatrics, louder than intimidation, louder than fear itself." Trump's facade begins to crack. The confidence that once seemed absolute now trembles with the pressure of relentless scrutiny. His jaw tightens, a flicker of frustration crosses his eyes, and for a moment, the carefully maintained veneer of control falters. Yet he strikes back, sharper, louder, trying to regain dominance. "You think you understand me, Crockett? You think a few charts, a few documents, a few numbers can outmaneuver experience, strategy, and power?" Jasmine tilts her head slightly, a faint, almost imperceptible smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "Experience does not excuse wrongdoing," she replies, her words deliberate, each one landing with weight and precision. "Strategy without integrity is just manipulation. Power without accountability is tyranny. And your influence cannot erase the truth." The chamber holds its collective breath. Each exchange ratchets the tension higher. Senators lean forward, witnesses grip the edges of their seats, and reporters snap photos that will soon circulate around the globe. Every syllable, every glance, Every subtle gesture is amplified, magnified, and felt by all present. Trump's face flushes with rising anger. His words become clipped, harsh, almost desperate. You dare lecture me on integrity? You presume to tell me how to wield power? You are naive. But Jasmine remains unshaken. She steps closer, her eyes unwavering, her voice steady yet unrelenting. Naivety is a luxury of those who have never been held accountable. I am not lecturing. I am presenting facts. I am upholding justice. And tonight, the world is watching, and the world will see who stands on truth and who hides behind influence. The final surge of confrontation comes like a tidal wave. Trump's frustration peaks. He slams a fist lightly on the table, his composure fraying. The tension in the room becomes almost unbearable, a palpable force pressing on every observer. Yet Jasmine does not flinch, does not raise her voice beyond measured authority, does not yield an inch. Her intellect, her preparation, her unwavering resolve dominate the space, slowly shifting the balance. And then, the moment crystallizes. A question from a senior senator pierces through the chamber. Mr. Trump, can you reconcile these documented actions with your public statements? The room erupts, not with noise, but with the silent, electric awareness that the tide is turned. Trump's eyes dart, searching, faltering, grasping for answers that cannot fully shield him. The weight of scrutiny bears down, and the tension is almost suffocating. Every attendee feels the climax. Every viewer at home senses the magnitude. This is the apex of confrontation, intellect confronting unbridled power. Jasmine's response is calm, precise, and devastating in its clarity. The evidence speaks for itself, she declares. No amount of rhetoric, manipulation, or intimidation can change what is documented, verified, and witnessed. The truth does not fear challenge, it endures it. And tonight, it prevails. The chamber is silent, heavy with awe and tension. Even Trump, still imposing, cannot mask the subtle cracks forming under the relentless logic and unwavering composure of Jasmine Crockett. The audience, both live and millions watching remotely, can feel the shift the moment when power meets intellect and the balance of control begins to pivot. Every heartbeat, every camera click, every shallow breath of the audience echoes the magnitude of this confrontation. And as the realization settles in, one truth becomes undeniable. In this battle of minds, of wills, of justice versus arrogance, the tide has decisively turned. Jasmine Crockett leans forward, her hands poised over the thick, confidential binder marked with the official seal. The room goes still, as if the chamber itself is holding its breath. The documents she reveals are unlike anything seen before. Internal communications, undisputed financial records, time-stamped emails, video logs, all meticulously verified, impossible to refute. Ladies and gentlemen, Jasmine begins, her voice calm but commanding. What you are about to see is the unfiltered truth. Every allegation, every concern, every question raised until now is answered within these pages. She slides the first document across the desk. The camera lenses focus, capturing every line, every annotation, every damning detail. Trump leans forward, attempting a smug dismissal. Fabricated, false! This is nonsense, he cries. But the room senses the tremor beneath his confident words. His hand trembles slightly as he tries to shuffle the papers on his own side, hoping to regain composure. But Jasmine does not waver. She methodically walks through the evidence, explaining each transaction, each memo, each directive, connecting dots with surgical precision. Every slide she reveals, every piece of data she analyzes, constrains Trump further, pushing him back from the position he once dominated with bravado. Here, she says, pointing to a chart tracking financial discrepancies totaling over $52 million, is the direct trail of actions taken under your direction that contravene both legal and ethical standards. These are not opinions, Mr. Trump. They are verifiable facts. The room reacts. Gasps ripple among spectators. Journalists' pens fly across notepads. Cameras zoom in relentlessly. Senators shift forward in their seats, some exchanging incredulous glances. The weight of undeniable evidence presses down on Trump like a tidal wave. each fact a hammer striking against the fortifications he has built around himself. Trump attempts to interject, his voice rising in desperation. Selective interpretation, misleading context. You're twisting the facts. Jasmine's eyes do not leave his. Her voice is calm, precise, almost surgical in its clarity. There is no selective interpretation here. Every document has been verified, every source cross-checked. Your attempts to distract or discredit the evidence are transparent and ineffective. She moves on, revealing communications where directives were sent to obscure financial flows, instructions that contradict public statements, and documented interference with regulatory investigations. Each revelation tightens the noose, leaving Trump grasping for defenses that no longer exist. The audience feels the tension escalate to near breaking point. Every witness leans forward, some gripping their chairs, their eyes wide as the reality sinks in. Every person watching remotely senses the moment. Justice is on the verge of victory, and the walls of deception are crumbling. Trump sweats visibly now, his voice wavering despite his attempts at assertiveness. This is absurd. This isn't real evidence, he stammers, but his words lack weight. The factual avalanche Jasmine orchestrates has already reached its peak, and every attempt at rebuttal is dismantled before it can land. Jasmine steps closer to the table, her hand gliding over the documents as she emphasizes her points. The facts speak for themselves. Every attempt at manipulation, every scheme to evade accountability, every lie designed to confuse or intimidate, every one of them is exposed here, and the public, the committee, and the world can see it clearly. Trump glares, but the room now sees not a titan untouchable, but a man constrained by his own actions. The chamber hums with tension as the confrontation reaches its zenith. The evidence is undeniable, overwhelming, and the momentum has shifted entirely in Jasmine's favor. A subtle murmur spreads, half disbelief, half awe. The committee members exchange knowing glances. The audience's collective pulse quickens. Cameras capture the subtle slump of Trump's shoulders, the fleeting panic in his eyes. Every strategic move he once relied upon is neutralized, laid bare by Jasmine's meticulous analysis. And in that moment it becomes clear. The balance of power has irrevocably shifted. Justice, embodied by Jasmine Crockett, is asserting itself with precision and authority. The audience feels it, the witnesses feel it, even Trump feels it, and the room vibrates with the unmistakable thrill of a righteous triumph in the making. The chamber holds tense and electric as Jasmine concludes her presentation. Every detail has been analyzed, every deception exposed, every argument countered. The path of accountability lies illuminated before the world, undeniable and unassailable. For the millions watching, the message is clear. Truth has prevailed over deceit, intellect over manipulation, justice over arrogance. And the crescendo of this confrontation leaves an unforgettable impression, a moment that will echo far beyond the walls of this chamber. But just when the momentum seems firmly in Jasmine Crockett's favor, Trump shifts. A subtle glance, a barely perceptible nod to one of his aides, sets in motion a maneuver calculated to destabilize the tide. In near silence, a document is passed discreetly to a key witness, a secret memorandum, carefully crafted to challenge the narrative Jasmine has built. The movement is almost imperceptible, but Jasmine notices. Her eyes flicker, sharp and alert, capturing the subtle shift in energy. She senses the trap immediately, a desperate, final attempt to turn the game in his favor. Yet she does not react impulsively. Instead, she leans back slightly, allowing the subterfuge to unfold, assessing the angles, predicting his next moves with precision. Trump rises, projecting authority, his voice smooth yet edged with urgency. "Ladies and gentlemen," he begins, waving toward the witness who now holds the confidential paper. "Perhaps some evidence has been overlooked. Perhaps there are angles you haven't considered. I trust you will see the truth." The room stiffens. The audience leans in. Cameras swivel, capturing the tension that now blankets the chamber like a storm about to break. Every journalist, every senator, every spectator senses the stakes. The very balance of justice hangs in the balance. Jasmine's mind races. She could expose the maneuver immediately, But doing so recklessly could play into Trump's hands, turning a simple revelation into a spectacle of distraction. Instead, she chooses precision, measured intervention. Her hand brushes the edge of her binder, fingertips grazing the documents she has studied for months, every detail committed to memory. Mr. Trump, she begins, her voice calm, yet each word lands like a strategic strike. The evidence is already comprehensive. Attempts to introduce selective or misleading documents at this stage will not alter the verified record. Every claim, every fact, every directive has been cross-referenced, corroborated, and made transparent. The witness hesitates, the secret memorandum trembling slightly in their hands. Trump's confident smile falters for a moment. The calculated rhythm of deceit, so carefully rehearsed, encounters the unyielding barrier of Jasmine's intellect. Trump tries to regain footing, gesturing emphatically. "This isn't fair. You're ignoring context. This changes everything." His tone sharpens, bordering on desperation. Yet the room senses the cracks widening beneath the facade of control. Jasmine steps forward, her gaze unwavering. No context can alter documented truth. No attempt at misdirection can rewrite verified evidence. And no matter how subtle the maneuver, every effort to distort accountability will be exposed in full. The psychological duel reaches its apex. Both strategists, seasoned in their own arenas, engage in a battle of minds more intense than any physical confrontation. Trump's final gambit meets Jasmine's unflinching composure. Each subtle gesture, each controlled phrase, is a move in a high-stakes game of chess. The chamber holds its collective breath. The audience at home mirrors it, as every observer senses the climactic clash unfolding in real time. The air grows thick with tension. Cameras capture every flicker of Trump's brow, every twitch of his hand, every micro-expression betraying the strain of the unraveling situation. Jasmine's calm, resolute demeanor contrasts sharply with his mounting agitation. Every word she speaks dismantles the potential power of his secret maneuver, neutralizing the threat without a dramatic outburst, without losing command of the narrative. Then comes the moment of truth. Jasmine presents a cross-verified set of documents that directly counters the memorandum, tracing its origin, exposing its inconsistencies, and revealing the context manipulated to mislead. The witness, caught in the light of clarity, lowers the paper, their expression betraying the dawning realization. The gambit has failed. Trump's jaw tightens. He searches for a retort, for a lifeline. But Jasmine's preparation has closed every gap, anticipated every angle. The room is nearly silent, yet the intensity is almost unbearable. Observers feel the weight of inevitability pressing down as the strategy of deception crumbles under the relentless force of truth. The audience exhales collectively. Reporters scribble furiously, senators exchange knowing glances, and the cameras capture the unmistakable moment. The final gambit has been countered, and the tide has shifted definitively toward justice. Jasmine's eyes sweep the room, a faint nod acknowledging both the gravity and precision of her maneuver. Truth, she says, softly yet powerfully, prevails when strategy is guided by integrity, not fear. Every attempt to undermine it will ultimately fail. The chamber pulses with anticipation, awe, and relief. The audience, the press, and the spectators at home sense the turning point, the moment when hidden machinations are revealed, nullified, and justice surges forward, unstoppable. And for those following every moment, every nuance, every move in this high-stakes confrontation, one thing is certain: the battle may be long, but with courage, intelligence, and unwavering commitment, truth will not just survive, it will triumph. The chamber vibrates with tension, every second a potential spark igniting chaos. Senators shift uneasily in their seats, papers rustle, and the echoes of voices rising and clashing bounce off the walls. The hearing, once controlled and deliberate, teeters on the edge of disorder. Trump seizes the moment, raising his voice sharply, aiming to undermine Jasmine's credibility. "You think you can lecture me on justice?" he bellows, pointing a finger with theatrical force. "You're inexperienced, reckless, and grasping at straws. Who appointed you to judge me?" The room reacts instantly. Some senators murmur in shock, others exchange frustrated glances, while reporters snap pictures, capturing every rise and fall of Trump's intensity. The press senses the storm, and the audience at home feels it too. Every heartbeat, every gasp, every shutter click amplifying the pressure. Jasmine, however, remains unmoved. Her eyes lock onto Trump with unwavering clarity, a quiet storm ready to strike. "I do not lecture," she replies, her voice calm but precise, each word a scalpel dissecting his fury. "I uphold facts, I present evidence, and I ensure that justice is neither ignored nor intimidated." Trump scoffs, leaning forward aggressively, his face flushed with mounting frustration. "Facts?" He spits, almost choking on his words. "Your so-called evidence is biased, selective, manipulated. You cannot control the narrative." But Jasmine anticipates every tactic. With icy precision, she counters his accusations point by point, presenting corroborated evidence, cross-referenced documents, and witness testimony that leaves no room for doubt. Every rebuttal is surgical, dismantling his attacks without raising her voice beyond measured authority. The chamber begins to spiral. Voices overlap, objections are shouted, and the gavel struggles to restore order. Senators shout, whisper, and gesture frantically, their attempts to maintain decorum barely keeping the room from descending into full-blown pandemonium. The hearing teeters on the brink of chaos. Trump's tactics grow more aggressive, more desperate. He gestures wildly toward Jasmine, trying to dominate the space with his presence. "You are trying to rewrite reality," he yells. "You can't challenge me like this." Jasmine responds without flinching. "I am not rewriting reality," she counters. "I am exposing it. Every document, every testimony, every verified detail is part of the truth that has been carefully documented. And truth does not fear challenge, nor does it bow to intimidation." The press captures every second, broadcasting the escalating tension to millions at home. Social media erupts with reactions, viewers holding their breath as the hearing teeters between control and chaos. The audience feels the suffocating pressure, the crackling energy, as if the walls themselves are vibrating with the intensity of the confrontation. Trump's attempts to belittle Jasmine intensify, but each attack only highlights his unraveling composure. His voice rises, his gestures become erratic, and his carefully rehearsed control slips further with every counter. Jasmine, by contrast, maintains perfect poise, turning each verbal assault into an opportunity to reinforce her argument, to expose deception, to assert intellectual dominance over brute force. The conflict reaches its apex. Senators pound their desks to regain order, witnesses exchange anxious glances, and reporters scramble to capture every moment. The chaos is near total, the room a swirling vortex of accusation, rebuttal, and revelation. Yet through it all, Jasmine stands firm, the eye of the storm, her intellect cutting through the tumult like a beacon. Trump finally falters mid-rant, a fleeting shadow of panic crossing his features. He searches for a lifeline, a distraction, any maneuver to regain footing. But Jasmine has anticipated everything, and every strategy is neutralized. The chamber senses it. The audience senses it. The narrative is now unmistakably hers. And then comes the crescendo. Jasmine delivers a concise, undeniable summation of the evidence, her voice ringing clear above the chaos. "What you see here is not conjecture. It is not opinion. It is verified fact. And for every attempt to intimidate, manipulate, or deceive, the truth remains steadfast. Accountability is not optional. It is inevitable." A heavy silence follows. The chamber holds its collective breath, the audience at home frozen in anticipation, and even the reporters lower their pens, sensing the gravity of the moment. Trump's voice falters, his attacks losing momentum, while Jasmine's words resonate like a hammer striking steel. The chaotic hearing has reached its peak. The tension is suffocating, almost tangible. Every participant, every observer, every viewer knows that the confrontation has shifted irreversibly. The unraveling of deception is underway, and the path toward justice, though still fraught, has never been clearer. Jasmine Crockett rises, her posture impeccable, her gaze unwavering as she prepares to deliver the culmination of her arguments. Every word she has prepared, every detail she has memorized, every carefully documented fact is about to converge in a final, devastating presentation. The chamber falls silent, the tension almost tangible, as if the very air holds its breath in anticipation. "Ladies and gentlemen," she begins, her voice steady yet charged with authority, "tonight we are witnessing a confrontation not just of personalities but of principles. The evidence presented, the corroborated facts and the testimonies before us paint an unambiguous picture of accountability, integrity, and truth." Trump shifts in his seat, a slight frown breaking his usual facade of confidence. He gestures wildly, attempting to cut her off, to assert dominance. But Jasmine anticipates every move. Her sentences are precise, each phrase a calculated strike, leaving no room for manipulation or distraction. "You have attempted to deflect, to mislead, to intimidate," she continues, her eyes locking onto his. "Yet the facts remain unyielding. Every document, every communication, every action under scrutiny is a testament to what occurred. And no theatrics, no false narratives, no force of presence can alter reality." The chamber watches in awe. Senators lean forward, witnesses sit rigid with anticipation, and journalists capture every moment, their pens and cameras racing to record a confrontation that feels historic. Even Trump, usually so composed under scrutiny, shows signs of strain, fingers tapping nervously, jaw tightening, a flicker of frustration in his eyes. He attempts a retort. "This is selective, misleading. You're painting a picture that isn't real." But Jasmine does not flinch. Her calm authority is magnetic, drawing the chamber's attention like a lodestar. "Selective?" she asks softly, letting the word hang in the air. "No, Mr. Trump. Comprehensive, verified, transparent. Every claim has been meticulously examined, every record cross-referenced. Truth cannot be obscured by shouting or deflection." Her arguments are surgical, dismantling his defenses without raising her voice beyond measured power. She lays out the final pieces of the puzzle, cross-referenced evidence that exposes the full scope of deception. Each fact lands like a hammer, methodically striking at the edifice of lies Trump had relied upon. The audience can feel the shift. The energy in the chamber is electric, almost suffocating in its intensity. Reporters whisper, cameras zoom in, and the senators exchange glances that speak volumes. Trump's attempts to counterattack falter under the relentless precision of Jasmine's intellect. His gestures grow frantic, his tone edges toward desperation, but the momentum has irreversibly shifted. Jasmine pauses for a moment, letting her words sink in. Every sentence resonates, every fact clarifies, every argument consolidates. She doesn't need theatrics. The sheer weight of truth fills the room, commanding attention and respect. "And so," she concludes, her voice rising just slightly, suffused with controlled authority, "while attempts were made to conceal wrongdoing, to manipulate outcomes, and to resist accountability, the evidence is irrefutable. Justice is not a matter of force, nor of influence, it is a matter of truth. And tonight, truth has been illuminated, unyielding and unbroken." The chamber reacts almost in unison, a stunned silence followed by restrained nods, whispers of approval, and the quiet acknowledgement that the confrontation has reached a pivotal moment. Even Trump, seated with fists clenched, cannot mask the recognition that his maneuvers have failed. The psychological pressure is palpable. Every attempt he makes to regain control is anticipated and neutralized. Jasmine's intellect, foresight, and composure dominate the room, leaving no opening for deception to thrive. For the first time in the hearing, the aura of invincibility that Trump projected is visibly fractured. The audience at home senses it too. Millions watching are drawn into the intensity, holding their breath as the chamber becomes a crucible for accountability. Justice, though still temporary in this unfolding saga, has risen triumphantly, asserting itself over manipulation, intimidation, and deceit. And in that electrifying moment, the chamber collectively feels it. The scales have tilted decisively. Jasmine Crockett has not merely countered, she has conquered the narrative, asserting the power of truth with precision and unflinching courage. The tension is at its peak, yet amidst the chaos, A single, undeniable conclusion crystallizes. For now, justice stands tall, and its voice has been heard. The room remains tense, anticipating the next move, yet the temporary victory is clear. Truth has emerged victorious, intellect has prevailed over raw force, and for every observer, both present and remote, the message is unmistakable. In the battle for justice, courage, preparation, and unwavering commitment can triumph even against the most formidable adversary. But Trump is not done. In a calculated surge of defiance, he launches his final offensive. Every gesture, every word, every inflection is designed to unsettle, to intimidate, to reclaim the narrative he has fought so desperately to control. He throws accusations, raises doubts, and attempts to twist perception in real time. The chamber braces itself. The ultimate confrontation has arrived. Jasmine Crockett stands her ground, unwavering, eyes sharp, mind razor-focused. She senses the stakes. This is not merely a battle of words, but a confrontation that will define the arc of justice in the public eye. Every detail of her preparation, every piece of corroborated evidence, every strategy she has honed is now weaponized, ready to counteract the tidal wave of deception crashing toward her. Your attempts at intimidation end here, Jasmine declares, her voice steady, resonant, commanding the chamber's attention. The evidence speaks louder than threats. Facts do not bend to arrogance, nor can they be silenced by theatrics. Every document, every testimony, every verified account presented here dismantles your narrative entirely. Trump lashes out, words flying like bullets, trying to pierce the armor of truth she has built. You think you can corner me? You think intellect alone can win this? You're naive, reckless, delusional. The chamber reacts. Senators lean forward, some gripping the arms of their chairs, their expressions a mix of astonishment and apprehension. Reporters scribble frantically, capturing every syllable, every nuance. The audience at home senses the tension in palpable waves. The air virtually crackles with the intensity of the clash. Jasmine does not flinch. Her rebuttal is surgical, each sentence a carefully placed counterstrike. She methodically dissects his arguments, exposing inconsistencies, highlighting contradictions, and reinforcing the immutable truth she represents. Her logic is precise, yet infused with moral clarity, each phrase combining intellect and emotional resonance, cutting through deception with unerring accuracy. You claim confusion, yet it is clarity you fear, she continues, her eyes never leaving his. You claim selective truth, yet every attempt to manipulate has been meticulously documented and invalidated. And while you attempt to wield power as a weapon, it is the unwavering force of justice that dictates the outcome tonight. Trump tries to regain composure, gesturing wildly, raising his voice to drown her words. Yet the more he struggles, the more apparent his vulnerability becomes. Each flailing attempt is met with calm precision, each outburst neutralized with evidence and reasoning, leaving the room to witness a display of intellect overcoming raw force. The psychological tension reaches its zenith. Every participant feels it. The final clash between power and principle, between ego and integrity. Senators' faces reflect the struggle of restraint and disbelief. Witnesses lean forward, riveted. Reporters' cameras whirl, capturing a moment that seems suspended in history. Jasmine's delivery intensifies. Every piece of evidence she presents is punctuated with unassailable reasoning. She sequences the facts so meticulously that Trump's last-ditch maneuvers begin to unravel before the chamber's eyes. She balances rigor with precision, intellect with empathy, logic with moral clarity. Each sentence lands like a decisive strike, a strategic blow designed not to humiliate, but to expose the undeniable reality. The audience feels it too. Millions at home experience the crescendo, the mounting pressure, the almost suffocating suspense of a chamber teetering on the edge of revelation. Every glance, every hesitation, every faltering word from Trump magnifies the drama. Every pause, every measured emphasis from Jasmine amplifies her authority. Finally, she delivers her culminating statement, the apex of her strategic assault. Tonight, the narrative has shifted. The attempts at deception have been laid bare. Accountability is not negotiable. Truth is not optional. And justice, though challenged, has emerged stronger than ever. This is not victory by force. It is triumph by integrity, intellect, and unwavering commitment to what is right. The chamber falls into stunned silence. Trump's shoulders slump imperceptibly. Even in defiance, his energy is spent, every strategy neutralized. Senators exhale, witnesses nod, and the press freezes in the moment, capturing the gravity of the confrontation. The tension does not dissipate. It transforms into awe, the audience recognizing the magnitude of what has occurred. The decisive confrontation has concluded, and for now, justice stands triumphant. Every heartbeat, every camera lens, every whispered reaction acknowledges the reality. Jasmine Crockett, armed with evidence, intellect, and moral resolve, has not merely countered her adversary, she has reshaped the narrative. The final battle has been fought, and in the crucible of confrontation, principle has prevailed over power. For all watching, in the chamber or across the nation, the message resonates unmistakably. When truth is wielded with courage and precision, even the most formidable opponents cannot prevail. Tonight, the decisive confrontation leaves an indelible mark, a testament to justice, intellect, and the power of unwavering resolve. The chamber exhales collectively as the hearing draws to its close. The tension that gripped every corner, that electrified every observer, begins to dissipate. But the weight of what has transpired remains palpable. Jasmine Crockett stands at the center of the room, a figure of calm authority, her presence commanding respect, her expression composed yet subtly triumphant. The evidence, meticulously presented, has spoken louder than any theatrics, louder than any attempt at intimidation. Trump, once exuding unshakable confidence, sits rigid, his composure cracked, the veneer of control stripped away. The final gambits he relied upon have failed, laid bare by unflinching intellect and an unrelenting commitment to justice. For the first time, the room witnesses not only the unraveling of deception, but the undeniable collapse of power built on manipulation and fear. As Jasmine delivers her concluding remarks, her voice carries both authority and moral clarity. Today is a testament to the enduring strength of truth, she declares. No matter how formidable the opposition, no matter the magnitude of the challenge, integrity and intellect prevail. Justice is not a fleeting concept. It is the foundation of our society, and tonight it has been upheld with clarity, precision, and courage. The chamber erupts. Senators rise from their seats, applause ringing out, some restrained, some jubilant. Reporters scramble to capture the moment, their cameras flashing, pens scribbling, microphones thrust forward to record the historic conclusion. The energy is electric, a surge of collective recognition that the narrative has shifted irrevocably. Justice has triumphed. Trump attempts a final response, a last desperate gesture to reclaim dignity, to twist perception, but his words falter. The once commanding voice now strains against the overwhelming force of documented truth and moral authority. Every argument, every piece of evidence he hoped to wield has been anticipated, neutralized, and exposed. He is left in a position no amount of bluster can remedy, a figure confronting the consequences of deceit in full view of the nation. Outside the chamber, millions follow the proceedings in real time, screens and radios broadcasting every detail. Social media erupts, conversations ignite, and the nation watches as the balance of power tilts decisively toward integrity. Jasmine's victory is not just personal, it resonates as a collective affirmation of principle over arrogance, intellect over manipulation, and justice over fear. The psychological weight of the day lingers. Observers sense the monumental implications. When courage is paired with preparation, when intellect guides moral conviction, even the most formidable opponents can be held accountable. Jasmine's strategy, patience, and unwavering resolve have turned a high-stakes confrontation into a triumph of truth. As the final statements echo through the chamber, Trump sits in silence, the realization settling upon him. The culmination of his maneuvers has failed. The carefully orchestrated defenses, the subtle manipulations, the intimidation tactics, all dismantled by meticulous evidence, sharp reasoning, and relentless commitment to justice. The power he wielded, once seemingly insurmountable, now crumbles under the scrutiny of transparency and moral authority. Jasmine's gaze sweeps across the room one final time. Senators nod in quiet acknowledgement. Witnesses offer tentative smiles, and reporters capture the lasting impression, the victory of intellect and integrity. She does not gloat, does not revel in humiliation, for her triumph is measured, principled, and unwavering, a reflection of the very justice she has defended. Let this moment serve as a reminder, Jasmine concludes, her tone resolute, that the strength of truth surpasses the fleeting power of fear, that intellect fortified by ethics will always rise above manipulation, and that justice, though challenged, will never falter when defended with courage and clarity. A final wave of applause cascades through the chamber, a standing ovation for the principles Jasmine represents and the relentless pursuit of accountability. The press erupts in excitement, capturing the images, the words, the expressions that will define this historic moment. The audience at home leans closer, captivated, inspired, and reassured that in the battle between righteousness and deceit, righteousness can prevail. Trump, confronted with the consequences of his actions, retreats into silence. The spectacle of power used for intimidation has been fully exposed, a cautionary tale etched into the public record. Justice has not only been served, it has been affirmed, elevated, and immortalized in the collective consciousness of all who bore witness. As the chamber empties, the echoes of applause and the weight of accountability linger. Jasmine Crockett walks with measured steps, her composure intact, her mission fulfilled. The story closes not with fanfare, but with clarity. Truth endures, justice prevails, and the moral arc, though tested, bends unmistakably toward integrity. In the end, the final lesson resonates with every viewer, every observer, every citizen. No matter the magnitude of corruption, no matter the depth of deception, the unwavering pursuit of justice, guided by intellect and fortified by ethics, will always triumph. Tonight, the decisive battle concludes, and justice, indomitable and unyielding, stands victorious. The echoes of this confrontation remind us that true power is not measured by dominance or fear, but by integrity, courage, and the unwavering pursuit of what is right. When intellect meets morality, deception cannot survive. When justice is defended with clarity and compassion, even the most formidable obstacles can be overcome. Let this story inspire each of us to act with honesty, to speak truth without hesitation, and to uphold the principles that elevate humanity. Because in the end, character and virtue endure far beyond any fleeting display of power. If this showdown stirred something in you, don't scroll. Sit with it. Talk about it. Challenge it. Like, comment, and share it with someone who believes justice deserves to be seen, heard, and felt. Subscribe to Harrison Stories, where courage speaks louder than fear. Hit the bell, because the next story will push boundaries, reveal truths, and confront power without compromise. This story is a fictional dramatization, inspired by real battles for justice and real acts of courage. Any resemblance to actual people or events is coincidental or symbolic, meant to provoke thought and reflection. Thanks for watching. Justice isn't optional, it's earned. This is Harrison Stories.